In the sun-kissed cradle of the Nile's eternal valley, a queen's dream died with an asp's kiss. In 30 BC, after the legendary Cleopatra and her Roman general, Mark Antony, were defeated at the Battle of Actium, the glorious age of the Pharaohs came to a sudden, tragic end. Egypt, a kingdom that had dazzled the world for 3 millennia, was absorbed into the burgeoning Roman Empire. This wasn't just a military conquest, it was the dawn of a new era, one that would reshape the destinies of both Rome and Egypt forever. So, how did this monumental shift happen? The story is a whirlwind of power, passion, and politics. The Roman Republic was in turmoil, torn apart by civil wars. On one side was Octavian, the shrewd and ambitious adopted son of Julius Caesar. On the other was Mark Antony, a charismatic general who had fallen under the spell of Egypt's brilliant queen, Cleopatra VII. Their alliance was both a romance for the ages and a formidable political military bloc that threatened Octavian's vision for a unified Rome under his sole command. The inevitable clash came at Actium, a naval battle off the coast of Greece in 31 BC. The forces of Antony and Cleopatra were decisively defeated. The couple fled back to Alexandria, but their fate was sealed. With Octavian's legions closing in, Antony took his own life, believing Cleopatra was already dead. Just days later, facing the humiliation of being paraded through Rome as a captive, Cleopatra famously chose her own end, supposedly by the bite of a venomous snake. With her death, the Ptolemaic dynasty, the last to rule in independent Egypt, was extinguished. For Octavian, who would soon become Augustus, the first Roman emperor, annexing Egypt was the ultimate prize. Why? Because Egypt was the breadbasket of the ancient world. The annual flooding of the Nile made its lands incredibly fertile, producing vast surpluses of grain. By controlling Egypt, Octavian controlled the food supply for the city of Rome itself. This was an immense source of power. He could prevent famines, keep the restless Roman populace fed and content, and thereby secure his own political stability. The grain of Egypt wasn't just food, it was a political weapon. Egypt became what was known as the personal property of the emperor. It wasn't just another province governed by the Senate, it was the emperor's private estate. A special prefect, chosen by the emperor himself, ruled the land. This unique status highlights just how vital Egypt was to Rome's economic and political health. The wealth extracted from Egypt was astronomical. Beyond grain, it produced papyrus, glass, and other luxury goods that flowed into Roman markets, enriching the empire and funding its massive armies and ambitious building projects. But what did Roman rule mean for the Egyptian people? Life changed dramatically. The new administration was efficient but ruthless in its taxation. The complex social structure that had existed for centuries was overlaid with a new Roman hierarchy. At the top were the Roman citizens, followed by the Greek inhabitants of cities like Alexandria, and at the bottom were the native Egyptians. While the Romans were generally tolerant of local customs and religion, their primary interest was economic exploitation. The temples, which had once been great landowners and centers of Egyptian culture, saw their power and wealth gradually curtailed as resources were redirected to Rome. The transition wasn't a simple story of oppression, though. Roman rule also brought a period of relative peace and stability known as the Pax Romana. For centuries, Egypt had been caught in a cycle of internal conflict and foreign invasions. Roman control put an end to that, creating an environment where trade and agriculture could flourish, even if the primary beneficiary was the empire. The cultures began to blend in fascinating ways. We see it in the art. Like the famous Fayum mummy portraits, which combine realistic Roman-style painting with the traditional Egyptian practice of mummification. Gods and goddesses were also syncretized. The cult of the Egyptian goddess Isis, for example, spread throughout the Roman Empire, becoming one of its most popular mystery religions. Over the next few centuries, Egypt remained a cornerstone of the Roman and later the Byzantine Empire. It was the vital artery that pumped lifeblood, grain and wealth, into the heart of imperial power. The story of Egypt's fall from an independent kingdom to a Roman province is a dramatic tale of ambition, love, and loss. It marks the end of one of the world's greatest ancient civilizations and the beginning of its new chapter as a crucial component of another. The defeat of Cleopatra wasn't just the end of her reign, it was the moment the land of the Pharaohs was chained to the destiny of Rome, a bond that would define the Mediterranean world for centuries to come. What do you find most fascinating about this turning point in history? The tragic romance, the political maneuvering, or the sheer economic power of the Nile? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the past.